What is up, guys? It's come to my attention in my last video that we don't have a ton of rebuild videos. We talk a lot about water and mold remediation, but a big part of water and mold remediation is the rebuild aspect. This video is going to kind of help start filling that gap there. So today we're going to be doing knockdown texture on a room that previously had popcorn ceilings. Now, these ceilings weren't water damaged in any way, but they did have popcorn on them. So we scraped all the popcorn off, got the ceiling to its kind of original state, and then we primed it, we fixed some drywall knife nicks, and now we're going to apply knockdown texture. If you're interested in learning knockdown, keep watching. This ceiling is by far not the flattest ceiling. It looks like there is a pretty big repair from something a long time ago. Normally, I would like to cut that out and make it completely flat and make it as perfect as possible before we apply the texture. But the reality is a lot of people are applying texture to hide blemishes and whatnot. And knockdown is one of those texture styles that looks really good and it hides really good too. So that's kind of a big reason why we see a lot of texture. Also, it's just nice to get a change of scenery from flat, you know? So that all being said, there are a few things that you need when you're doing knockdown texture. You need an air compressor, you need a hopper, okay? And this is something you can order on Amazon. I'll put a link to the one that I use, or you can grab one at Home Depot or Lowe's. You need joint compound, you need a drill, you need a mixer bit, and then you need a bucket, an empty 5-gallon bucket, and some water. And then the last thing you need is a knockdown knife. This is a really big, flexible knife that allows you to actually knock down the joint compound that you just sprayed out of your hopper. Once you have all that, you are ready to apply your knockdown texture. So without further ado, let's start knocking down some texture. All right, so I have everything I need. I have some water here. I have my joint compound, I have my mixing bucket, and I have my drill with my mixing bit. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take a drywall knife and you're gonna slap it in there and you're gonna get out this joint compound just like so. You're gonna throw that in there, throw that in there, throw that in there.
One of my DUs is still running.
I always fill the bottom. I'd rather have a little bit more texture than less because it's kind of a pain to mix. All right, so I have about the better half of the bottom bucket full. Now it's time to dash it with a little bit of water. I always start with a little bit of water and work my way up. I don't pour a bunch of it in at once, especially if you're using a hose. It's really tempting to just start filling it up. But the ratios start getting mixed up and it starts to become a problem. So I always dash a little bit first. Then I take my mixer and I start mixing slowly. Kind of swish it around there, do circles. Ultimately, you want to kind of get it so it can kind of pour. It's like a thick pour, you know? The best way to think of the consistency you want is like ice cream that's melted. Our texture is ready to go. I actually let it sit for a minute or two before I pour it into the hopper. I'm going to grab my hopper and we're going to get this poured into the hopper and get our air compressor turned on and go shoot some knockdown down. It's a lot, just like that. In my opinion, it's a lot easier with two people because somebody can hold the bucket and the other person can hold the hopper, but we unfortunately don't have two people here. So it's about halfway full. My hopper is now locked and loaded. Let's go. All right, so I usually let it sit for a minute or two, and then I take my big knockdown knife, take a little sponge to rinse the knife, and you start at a corner, and you just like that, and you run it along. It's gonna have a nice flex to it, and I just do it till I can't reach it anymore. just like that. Then you could use the other side, right here. You gotta spin around a little bit. Basically the same thing. I overlap it a little bit, get that nice flex, that nice bend. Just like that. And you rinse and repeat, and you will have a great knockdown textured ceiling. I use the sponge to get off excess. Sponge or a rag works. I'm just using a sponge because it's at arm's length. And at that point, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat. Mix up new joint compound, put it in your hopper, spray it on, knock it down, rinse and repeat until you have a fully textured ceiling. So, that all being said, I'm gonna go ahead and finish the ceiling, and thank you guys for watching.